Yeah, let's try that. How about now? Holy crap! Hey guys, LevelCap here, and today Wake Island has launched for Battlefield 5. Also, literally as I've been making this video, DICE has released their response to the TTK nerf, which I will be addressing later in the video. If you want to skip to the TTK update news, I'll put a timestamp in the video description. So, let's start off with a remake of DICE's most iconic map ever made. This was the first map ever released with Battlefield 1942, and seeing it all these years later, it's, well, very, very different. First of all, the attackers are now the Americans. Hang on, I gotta look this up. Americans never landed on Wake Island after the Japanese took it in the Battle of Wake Island. So, hang on. DICE, if you want to make up a fictional Wake Island battle for Battlefield 3 or whatever, that's fine. But this is a game about World War II, where actual people fought and died in actual battles. Why are you showing the Japanese defending Wake Island? It was the US defending in what was an epically badass defense against overwhelming odds. And they lost, but they went down swinging. And you're going to rewrite that as the Japanese defending the island? What's next? The Germans storming the beaches of Normandy while the US heroically gunned them down from their MG-42 bunkers? I realize that the Battle of Wake Island is not necessarily that well known compared to famous battles like the beach landings at Normandy, but it's also an important battle. It's a battle where people died. It was basically the first battle between the Americans and Japanese after Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. It's important, it's significant, and just because less people know about it, you're like, let's just switch the sides on it. Whatever, I guess we should just all be used to DICE rewriting history at this point. But it's been pretty atrocious so far, and I thought DICE was maybe going to try and move beyond some of this, but I'm still surprised, oddly surprised, I guess, at this point. Like, it's only the biggest detail of the entire battle, and it seems like maybe it wouldn't have been all that hard to get it right. And also, maybe mix it up, let the Americans defend for a change. Okay, let's just talk about the map. It's an extremely pretty map. One of my favorite things about these maps are the intense color contrast and the gorgeous views. Nobody can argue that. It's also bigger than the first Wake Island and has way more clutter. Maybe too much clutter. In fact, the frame rate was really dropping at some points, like even worse than the rest of Battlefield 5. There's a bunch of cool new things, exploding bunkers, a tunnel underneath the runways, and some fairly large structures. On the breakthrough version of the map, the Americans get a ton of tanks. Now, tanks are not particularly easy to fight against when you're infantry, especially when they're keeping their range and just sniping everything in sight. But when there's 8 of them on the attacking team with little to no counter on the defending team, that is not okay. There were moments where the kill feed was just non-stop tank kills. Extremely unfun. I don't know how DICE thought this would be a balanced fight. There's also a lot less elevation to this map compared to the original game maps. This is probably more realistic overall, but it makes for lots of long sight lines where tanks again can easily abuse them and just snipe infantry from across the map. Now, on Conquest Assault, you are not necessarily going to run into 8 tanks at once. There are tanks, and they're still quite powerful. It's just not as out of hand as it is on Breakthrough. However, the spawns are not particularly good, and I spawned in front of enemies multiple times, even when spawning on the flags themselves. The map has a lot of bushes that you might recognize from the Pacific Storm map, except because of the extremely flat layout and the plethora of these bushes everywhere, it tends to create a lot of visibility issues, and I found the gameplay to be quite chaotic, especially when playing on Conquest Assault. To be honest, the map feels like it was designed to be a portfolio piece, something that's beautiful to look at from a distance or maybe to watch clips of it in action, but the fun gameplay seems like it was a distant afterthought. I want to play it more and see if strategies change as more people get used to the map, but on the first playthrough I was not impressed with the design, just the visuals. Okay, let's talk about the 5.2 response from DICE and what they're working on. They preface their Reddit post with the usual paragraphs of thanks for the feedback, we don't always get things right, etc, etc. Moving past that, DICE is actually working on a hotfix. This means a fix ASAP for Battlefield 5, not just something that will roll out in a month, but hopefully much sooner than that. The fix, however, is not a rollback. According to their data, DICE has found that a lot of what they wanted from the patch actually succeeded, but that they also admitted they made quite a few mistakes with weapon balance. Many guns are getting buffs to their ranged effectiveness, and some are getting their close range effectiveness buffed as well. Nothing looks like it's getting a nerf. All the guns I'm about to mention on this list are getting changed for the better. The ZK383 MP40 Sten will need one less bullet to kill at their maximum ranges. The STG-44 will go from a 5-shot kill in close quarters to a 4-shot kill. The Sturmgewehr 1.5 is going from a 6-shot kill in close quarters to a 5-shot kill, and it's getting a recoil reduction. The M1907 is going from 5 shots in close range and 13 shots at long range to 4 shots in close range and 10 shots at long range. The Beretta is going from 5 shots in close range to 4 shots in close range. The KE7 and Type 97, which technically isn't in the game yet, Bren and Lewis gun, are going from 5 shots in close quarters to 4 shots in close quarters. The LS26 is going from 11 shots at range to 9 shots at range. The FG42 is going from 5 shots in close quarters and 13 shots at range to 4 shots in close quarters and 9 shots at range. The VGO and MG42 are going from 5 shots in close quarters and 13 shots at range to 4 shots in close quarters and 10 shots at range. They're also seeing reductions in their recoil, and the high velocity bullet bug is getting affixed on the MG42. The AGM-42 is getting a rate of fire increase from 300 to 360. The non-weapon changes include the following. They are completely removing the 5.2 enemy acquisition icons when not looking directly at the enemy, but who are instead inside your field of view. They are reducing the range at which the icon appears when looking directly at the enemy from 25 meters to 20 meters. The angle that you have to be looking at the enemy is now going to be 3 degrees instead of 6 degrees. They are working to improve icon occlusion issues, which includes seeing enemies through smoke grenades. They're also fixing an issue where squad member names were not properly displayed above their heads. There's also a small dose of performance and stability fixes mentioned here, but nothing groundbreaking. And although we don't have a confirmed release date for this hot fix, community manager Adam Freeman said his hope is for next week. There's been no mention about the weapon balance in Firestorm, so if you're enjoying that sponge fest over there, well, sorry, you're probably still going to be enjoying a sponge fest. So this response from DICE is not at all unexpected. They're already leaning towards the idea that they were not going to roll back the TTK patch, but it does seem like they're addressing most of the problem weapons here. But ultimately, there is going to be a massive TTK nerf for ranged engagements with most weapons, even after this hotfix. And that's just something that they seem like they want to push through onto the community, regardless of what the feedback is. Now, obviously, this is a hotfix. This is not going to be the final tuning of weapons in Battlefield 5. Hopefully not. But one big overlook of this hotfix are the semi-auto rifles for the Assault class. Assault just got like blasted by this 5.2 update. Like almost all of their guns became unusable, and then the STG-44 was like the only thing that seemed to sort of survive the weapon apocalypse. Well, all the semi-autos felt like garbage after the update. Even the ones that I recommended, I was like, you can use them, but you're not going to enjoy them that much. Very few of them got touched by it. Well, actually, only one of them got touched by this hotfix here, and that was the AGM-42, and they're just bumping its rate of fire up a tiny bit. It's going to be a mere shell of what it was before this patch, which probably will still make it a relatively unenjoyable weapon to use. A lot of the other guns out there still feel really bad. The M1 Garand, Gewehr 43, Carabin, all of those have gotten really, really hurt by this patch, and the fact that none of it's included in the hotfix. I mean, I feel like I could sit down at a desk and come up with a better list of changes to these weapons within a couple of hours than DICE has presented to us after about a week. Now, in response to people bringing this up right away on Reddit, Adam Freeman has said that they are actually looking at increasing the rate of fire on a lot of the other semi-autos to try and balance them out a bit better, but that's planned for their next patch. Maybe the AGM-42 is sort of their test candidate for this. I don't know why they're waiting, you know? It's like they're already treating Battlefield 5 like it's CTE. It's not like bumping them a little bit for the next one is going to hurt that many things. You know, bump it a little. Don't go overboard. Just do it a little and then see what happens, right? Like, if it's too much, you can slightly reduce by the next time. It can't possibly make the state of things much worse than they already are. Anyway, there's a pretty active discussion over on Reddit about all this changes and feedback and what people want to see in the game and how they want to see things changed. If you want to make your voice heard, you can hop on over there and have a discussion for yourself. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about all of this. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing off.